I asked about that, and like, how come Cookham didn't go to residential school? And my mom said because she ran and hid in the woods. Yeah, she ran and hid in the woods.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Two Idiots podcast. I'm Reg. I'm Randy, is what Randy would say if he were here, but unfortunately he's off riding camels in the Himalayas. When in fact that's not true. He's out. Oot and a boot. He's out. Anyway, so instead of Randy, we have an honorary idiot taking the spot today. Mr. Mike G. Welcome back, brother.
Hey, man. How's it going? Nice to see
good. Oh, yeah, let's do this. I forgot to record.
Recording in progress.
Hey, there it is.
Got it.
Mike is he's on. For our tens of YouTube subscribers. It's
big deal. It's a big deal.
Big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mike is an old friend. We worked together more closely.
Yeah.
Now we sort of technically, I guess, work together, but without actually working together.
Well, you did cut me off though one day when we were leaving work that one
you're
time.
Right.
So
I was going to pick a fight at the stoplight, but
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. But
How
then
would that
you realized who you're up against. So yeah.
I mean, you're only like 6 inches shorter than me. You center of gravity, you come right at me.
That's right. You know. Yeah. Exactly.
Like Gimli from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. That's right. I'll take you down.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, like I said, Mike was, he's been on the show before. So folks, if you've been listening for the whole time, you've already heard of Mike and heard some of his story. We were looking back in episode 23. So if you go back to the olden days, but Randy just said, he's like, it's all good. It happens. Just let it be known I'm probably 100% in agreement with whatever you guys say. With a laughing emoji. So everything that we're talking about is, he's tacitly in agreement. So, okay. So how about how good that Hitler was? Hey, Randy's all about that.
Yeah, racism is really good apparently. So, Randy agrees.
Randy does agree. Yeah. The views of Randy are not wholly supported by the Two Idiots podcast and should be treated individually.
Yes, exactly.
But fuck that guy. He's not here to defend himself, so we get to just dump on him. But anyway,
he's gonna go spend time with his kids. Like, come on.
What kind of dad
is, like,
does
way
that?
Better. I know, right?
I don't even have kids. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that you know of anyways.
True. You never know. I always make that joke to my uncle. He lives in Southeast Asia, in Hong Kong, and he had a villa in Thailand. He has a place in Taiwan. He's sort of been all over kind of the area. So on Father's Day, I always wish him a potential Father's Day, a happy potential Father's Day. He's like, not that I know of. I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, like I said, longtime listeners of the show will have already heard, but if you're new to it, feel free to go back to episode 23. We recorded at my dining room table with a small little pocket mic. So it's pocket mic with mic. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go.
But it definitely wasn't, any sort of production value like I hope that we bring to you now. But it was a good discussion, and I'm glad that you're back. So how are you, Mike? How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I mean, as well as anyone can be during this whole pandemic thing. Mm-hmm. How was your 2020?
Oh, terrible. It started off well. Like we literally went to Cuba, and then 2 days later, or was it only a day later, like borders closed, everything shut down from we got back. We almost got stranded in Cuba, which there are worse.
That would have been terrible.
Yeah. Sitting at the resort would have been god awful.
Yeah.
But
terrible.
Suffice to say, we made it, and then I took some time off work, mental health stuff, and then went back, and I've been working ever since. Second half was not great. I was not kind to myself in 2020. Most people gained the COVID-19, and I probably gained the COVID-70. So we
really
not that much, but
okay,
enough that it's things are a little snug. Going through doorways is a bit of a challenge these days. So, it's a work in progress. Yeah. And yourself? How was 2020?
I don't know. Much like yours, like just working it almost every day, except for weekends, obviously. But like it's been pretty busy. I mean, like the place that we work, people need a certain commodity that we provide, and they
Well
need
said.
that every day.
Well said. That was
So
good.
that kept us busy. Well, it kept me busy anyways. So
Yeah. No, I mean, that's good. I think for most people is a challenge. I mean, the fact that we're over halfway done 2021 already is mind-boggling. Like it's July in a couple of days. And then everything just keeps compounding. You know what I mean? Like those that believe in the simulation theory, I think they might have something to it, because why else would all of these things happen at once?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, like what happened at once? We had the pandemic,
and then George Floyd.
Oh yeah.
And then just racial tension and unrest, and then there was the election in the U.S., which is all sorts of things. And
oh yeah, that guy.
How do you feel about Mr. Trump there, Mike? Tell us.
Mr. Trump. Let's see, where do I start? Like he was like the Washington outsider, right? Like the guy that got in, and I just the kookiness that he brought out in the American public, I just felt like, people that were that were assholes. Yeah. The word asshole. I think they finally felt that they had someone that they can relate to, and that was sure. His presidency altogether. So that's all. I think
that's what it boils down to, because no matter how good or bad of an actual president he may or may not have been, and I'm on the side of he wasn't a very good one, and I think most people would agree, but there are people that don't. Regardless of that, his methodology, his bravado, what he said, how he said it, what he did, basically just emboldened all the people that are like, oh, white people are oppressed, and I can't say what I want to say, and this guy says what it really brought out the rah for the shit.
It made it okay.
Yeah, and that's probably the most negative part of his presidency, just that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad that he is no longer in office. Now we have fumbling, bumbling, blah, 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 Mr. Biden.
Yeah,
and,
Mr. Biden.
At least it's calm. He's a bit of a moron himself, but it's chill.
Yeah, but it's a breath of fresh air. It's nice to see like a leader, being more inclusive, I guess. Because when you saw Trump, like when he there was that one GIF file of him sitting with the other
boy.
There we go.
Oh yeah.
There was that one GIF file where he was with those other leaders. I think it was like a G7 or something like that, and he was standing with them, and then he just pushed himself out in front of all of them. I'm just thinking that's Trump. You know, that's Trump right there. So,
while at the same time pushing American exceptionalism, but also trying to force all of his allies to pay more. So like you can't have it both ways. You can't be number one in the world and like have all your fingers in everyone's pie, and then expect everybody, and then put tariffs on your allies and all this other shit. Anyway.
Anyways.
So I'm glad that that's moved on. I'm curious. The question has popped in my head. As an indigenous fella in Canada, what's your perception of like the indigenous life for the Americans? Like we don't hear a lot about it because there's so many racial tensions in the U.S. and of course we hear about the Trail of Tears and we hear about reservations and we hear about it. If you're in the know, you do hear about it, but I feel like on a broader scale, it's not as well known. I mean, do you have any sort of sense of what life is like in the U.S. compared to Canada?
Good question. I can only draw on my own personal experience. Because when I went to Texas, I might have talked about this the last time I was on the show, but I went to Texas with my family back in 2010, and we had a couple short stops at different airports along the way, and every airport that we stopped in, people were stopping to take pictures with me and my dad.
No kidding.
Yeah, they wanted to, like, they've never seen like indigenous people before, and my dad is like, he's very indigenous looking. He's got the long braid, he looks like the prototypical indigenous person, right? So it just like and then even we were walking around in San Antonio, and it was people were stopping us on the street asking us to take pictures with them, just total strangers. Total strangers.
Huh? I mean, I don't think that that's a good thing,
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's innocent, maybe, but.
It is innocent, but it just makes me feel that like indigenous people in America are hidden.
Yeah, and you're also more of a, not a sideshow, but you're like
Yeah.
this interesting thing that like, oh, we never see one of you, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
wild. I just watched a video yesterday of he's a black school teacher in Japan, and the Japanese are known to be a very monoculture. Frankly, it's kind of racist.
Yeah.
Just how shut down it is, you know, or at least it's racial. But it's all very homogenous and all that stuff. So he was there, and he goes into this classroom, and he prefaced it by saying, he's like, no, these kids don't know any better. It's just having fun, right? But these kids are like, are you chocolate? Like, seriously. Like, they asked, and I mean, if you're a kid and you've never seen a black guy before, you probably would think that, right?
Yeah.
And he had to spend like months convincing him that he is indeed a regular guy and not made of chocolate. So it's interesting when you, because again, it's innocent. They're not being racist. It's just they don't know.
Just not exposed to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like in Canada we have we're way further along that chain of representation and promoting Indigenous culture and lives, and we're terrible at it. So what does that say about the U.S.?
Yeah.
No, that's wild. I didn't realize that you should have charged for the pictures.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, hindsight being 2020. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Your dad should have just like really leaned into it and pretended to be some like famous chief of something and just been like, yeah.
Well, he loved it. So it was
But again,
funny.
that's why
I thought,
it's kind of
it was
sweet.
funny.
You know? Yeah, like it's weird, but I don't know.
Yeah, he's got his own story to tell, but you know, like he was, he just thought it was funny, and I thought it was funny, and we just left it at that.
That's probably the right way to take it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so again, as an Indigenous guy, I'm always curious, how do you feel about the fact that like sports teams are changing, everything, and maybe touch on terminology for yourself, because I know some people, like in the U.S., Indian is still basically an accepted term. You know, they still have the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and you know everything is there are Indian reservations, and many of the bands are still called this and this Indian band or whatever. Like it's not as gone as it seems to be in some other places. So I'm curious, for yourself, how do you feel about the different terms, and which one do you kind of prefer?
Well, I think my buddy Drew put it the way he put it. Indians are from India.
Yeah.
And I've always remembered that. And to me, like, I always identified as Cree, as Indigenous, as Aboriginal.
Yeah.
So that's how I think of myself, as Indigenous.
Fair enough. I like it. It's a cool word too. I don't know.
Indigenous, yeah.
Yeah, I like
it. Mike is very Indigenous. Yes.
Full on Indigenous, and Reg is absolutely
Full
not
on.
Indigenous.
Exactly. Yes.
There's not a lick of anything in me. I'm a white mutt. But yeah, no, that's interesting. So, but then how do you feel about like Native? Is that, because I know some people take it totally fine, and some people don't. I'm curious how you feel about it. Depends on the context, maybe, like who's saying it and how. Yeah.
Who's exactly. Yeah. It's very important who's saying it, and then in which the way that they're saying it.
For sure.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally. And again, the goal with having you on, I've been wanting to have you on for ages. Unfortunately, you missed out on our Star Wars extravaganza.
I know.
I don't really remember when that was. I don't know.
That was probably when episode 9 came out. I think we were supposed to, but then something happened around there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You had a funeral you had to go to. Pretty sure.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have dropped right after Wobb's first episode. Actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So him and
episode 50.
I are tied right now. Yeah. Well, him and I are tied, right, for two episodes each.
No way, buddy. He's got you beat. He's been on 4 times.
No way. Oh, okay.
You gotta catch up. Catch up.
I'll remember that, Wob. Yeah.
I love how many digs we have at Wob. There's my friend Janelle came back on, and she loves telling everybody, like her friends and family and stuff, that she's and I quote, not that this should be offensive, but she said, "I'm the most famous Nietzsche to have ever been on the Two Idiots podcast." And then we're like, "Suck it, Wob. Suck it, Adam Beach." Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Me and Adam Beach, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to get him back on too, and but of course, with everything going on, like I understand that it's not a good time, but
yeah, things are kind of busy. Yeah, especially now. Yeah.
For sure. So then, again, to have conversations like this, it's not I never want to tokenize anybody as though you're the native guy for the show, right? And I think we've done a pretty good job. We've had, I don't know, 20 probably indigenous people on the show over the last 120 plus episodes. So just to make that perfectly clear, anybody everything that you're saying, I want to get your perspective. I'm not asking for you to speak for indigenous people in general, right? So, but yeah, no, that's good. So then, I mean, we should probably touch on when you were last on. We did get into the fact that you are like a second generation residential school survivor, I guess is probably the way to say it, because your mom.
I think first generation.
Would that make you first generation? I always get confused.
I would be first generation, yeah. Okay. Because I'm a firstborn of a survivor.
That's it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, for people not from Canada listening to this show, however, wherever you are, Canada's going through a bit of a reckoning, and still in 2021, people are surprised. And that's what really, really gets me. Because I started learning about residential schools more in depth after starting the show. So over the last probably 2-3 years, I've been reading more and kind of really having conversations with people like you to really kind of broaden my perspective. So residential schools it's not a surprise. I never would, when I started hearing about that they found these bodies, honestly, it's depressing to say, but my reaction was, of course. Like it wasn't, I didn't, I'm not surprised by it. And then I see people posting and they're like, oh, you know, they're laying it out as though they had never heard it before. And that's the problem. The fact or minimizing by saying, oh, it was, you know, that was 100 years ago. Like that's such a long time ago. Like, no, not really, you know, like, no, it wasn't. I always love saying to people that are sort of kind of, they're not on the fence, but they're sort of lackadaisical about it. And they're sort of like, you know, it is what it is. I always say, say they have a 6-year-old. I'm like, your kid, if that was still going, could be taken from you and taken to a place that you might not even know, probably can't visit, and could die there. Like
and could never see them again. Never see them again, and then possibility of like not knowing, you know, where they were buried. Yeah. You know, like.
Have you talked to your grandparents about their experiences having their kid taken?
Well, interesting enough, my granny, my kokum, she never attended residential school. I asked about that, and like how come kokum didn't go to residential school? And my mom said because she ran and hid in the woods. She ran and hid in the woods. Yeah. So that she never went.
Like you shouldn't think about it. Like again, think about if this. It's always interesting to frame it in the way. Think of this was happening in Kleefeld, Manitoba, or somewhere, even Winnipeg now, you know, like if it happened in St. Vital and it was all white kids, imagine the uproar. Like even people talking about when Humboldt happened, the country stopped. They raised like $15 million. Everybody's got all these bumper stickers. They got all this stuff. For and that was a traumatic event.
Hockey sticks outside.
Exactly.
Hockey sticks on the doors. Yeah.
Yep. And now it's a different thing. That said, I do see a lot of people. We were just in Pinawa yesterday, and someone had it was actually kind of touching, a little orange painted, like a children's chair in their front yard with a feather, like in the middle of the chair, and it wrote 200 plus on it and stuff like that. It's happening. But it just feels like it doesn't.
Same in my neighborhood too.
Yeah.
In my neighborhood, you can walk down the street and some people have put like an orange shirt in their doorway.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me. Like.
It should be. That's
people
I'm
are waking
glad
up
that it's happening. Yeah, but it shouldn't have taken this long. You know, like because now just imagine any of say my family or friends going to school and dying there. Like to really hammer it home. People are so detached and they say, "Oh, they might not say it out loud, but they're like, "Oh, it happened to the natives." So, you know.
Yeah, it didn't happen to me.
Yeah. And it's utterly tragic. So again, for people that are not from here listening, they have now found, what is it now, 1,300 plus graves, something like that.
Yeah. But I think the one that at Kamloops is more. I guess it's to me it's like more sad because it's a mass grave.
Yeah.
Like it's a mass grave of 215 bodies, some as young as 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like what the hell is it? Yeah. What's a 3-year-old doing in a residential school?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just Yeah,
really
we
sad.
have kind of a reckoning. And again, as a first generation residential school survivor, I mean that your perspective is powerful and poignant and topical and something I can never relate to. So, I mean, I hope that you and your family are doing as well as possible. So you said your grandma didn't go, but then your mom and I assume other members of your family did.
My mom, pretty much all her sisters.
Mm-hmm.
On my biological father's side, he went from kindergarten to grade 12. All of his brothers and sisters went.
Wow.
You know, like my family on that side, it still haunts them. You know, it still haunts them to this day.
Yeah.
Like just the loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
I see. You know, my aunt. I think it affected her a lot. You know, I could see the loneliness with her. So, yeah, it still affects people to this day.
Of course, and that's like in previous episodes, like we had the author of Red River Girl and so stories of Tina Fontaine and the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls all across this nation, which is, I think the UN has rated it a genocide. I don't know if it's the UN or somebody did, and it's just those types of things. The trauma is happening now, like it's still happening. Even if they had never found the graves, it's still happening. I'm glad that more people are, because my Facebook is just covered in people sharing things and posting things, and that's good. But
that's good, yeah.
That's as far as it goes. Like it's good, but what does it do? Like just like Justin Trudeau's, his platitudes and things of saying that. Like I was just reading on CBC, basically, he had said, forget, that type of, we're committed to working together.
He's just being a politician and just being a politician about it. That's all. Just saying all the right things that people want to hear. Yep,
100%. And then this lady named Marion Buller served as a chief commissioner of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. She said she wants to hear more from the Prime Minister than just thoughts and prayers. It's a nice statement, a very well-crafted statement of sympathy and empathy, but there's no action there. And prove it with concrete action, release the documents, stop the action in federal court regarding the application of Jordan's principle, which I'm not sure what that is. Take responsibility, acknowledge, move forward. It's totally true. I just don't understand why it's not.
I think with Jordan's principle, I think it's more of like a child welfare thing. With I believe he was in the foster care system, and I think he passed away because he wasn't able to receive proper medical care.
Oh, yeah.
And like I think the province, I think it was like a battle between the province and the federal government on who funded his care or something like that, something along those lines.
Yeah, you're right. So, I looked it up. It basically is. Basically, Jordan's principle is the child first and needs-based principle used in Canada to ensure that First Nations children living on and off reserve have equitable access to all government-funded public services. It holds that First Nations children should not be denied access to public services while governments fight over who should pay.
Yeah.
Five-year-old Jordan River Anderson from Norway House. So it's just pay it. Whoever, just quit your squabbling and just do it.
Well, depends who's in power at the time, I guess, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's just a basic human decency, just fucking
absolutely.
Do it.
Just fucking do it. Yeah.
We're shelling out hundreds of billions of dollars for COVID, and what was it, H1N1? When that first happened, they were just sending body bags up north to the reserves because they didn't have the medical resources. Yeah. They refused to. So you know what I mean? Like it's just we can't have these two separate societies in the way that we do. And how do we fix that?
Yeah, I was working for a different company at the time, and I was actually going to that community during that H1N1 crisis.
Wow.
And I remember them sending body bags up there, and I was thinking like, oh my god, that's like the wrong message to send right now. I'm sure like it was more of a gaffe because like I'm sure they're going to help them, but the body bags unfortunately made it to the press. And
the image is not great.
The image is not very good. Yeah.
Say you were, king of the world, Mike G, or you're suddenly the king of Canada, and you get to, wave a magic wand, and whatever you say goes. What's your what's your plan? What do you think we should do? How do we move forward with this?
In regards to,
just in general, I mean, speaking, maybe it's solely indigenous issues. Just let's focus on that. Maybe kind of what would your first step be, you think?
Well, I think the big issue with First Nations is obviously, I think it's poverty.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this cycle of poverty being like regurgitated over and over and over. Every generation is always poverty. So I think that the other thing too would be education.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why, education, learning how to, like learning a new skill, learning a new trade, that kind of stuff. But I think it's such a complicated issue to try to solve in, like, say, one sentence, like
100%.
So many things. Yeah, there's so many things to look at. And
I was talking with one of my, he's kind of a contractor that we deal with, and he is, I forget now, but he's also indigenous. I forget kind of what tribe he was from, but and we were discussing that because we're sort of like, so if you give, he from his perspective, he's like, if you give the payment out, which they did to multiple residential school survivors, I forget where it was. I think they each got something like $25,000 or something in a certain community, or a certain number of them. And he's like, it's good, but it's also bad. It's like, say you grew up homeless your whole life, and suddenly you have $25,000. Yeah, you might not even have a bank account, and there's no tools. And it's the same thing with family planning, from my perspective, it feels like, because with, like you said, generations of mothers and families were torn apart. So now your mom or her sisters or people like that are now having kids, having never grown up in their own home. Yeah, so without really learning the lessons of parenting and communal, because we like the stereotype of like an indigenous tribe or whatever is where it takes a village, the aunts and moms are all sort of raising the kids together, and there's people all over the place, and everybody's supporting each other. And now, in this structural British imperial way, it's like you separate everything, and now what choice do you have? Like, how do you, if you're dealing with your own trauma, and now you have kids, as people do, but you don't have the tools to then raise that child. It's so heartbreaking. But how do you fix that, right?
Well, like going with that scenario there, like this, it's like pretty much like the typical scenario. Like you got a broken family unit. The parents are in their own little intergenerational trauma.
Yeah, they
have kids. They don't know how to parent the kids because they were never parented themselves.
Yeah,
and then the kids get stuck in a cycle, and they get stuck in care, and then next thing you know, they're in the justice system. And I mean, like that's a lot of my story too, of my family story is we have a lot of my cousins are incarcerated right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is disproportionately higher for indigenous people.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And so often I know people personally, especially when we're talking about say in the U.S., like black people being disproportionately shot by police. They're like, wow, they live in communities that have higher crime, and then that's where it stops for them. They're like, so black people are just criminals.
Well, what's the answer?
Exactly. So why is crime so high there? Like why are they there? Most people were forced to go there because of blockbusting and, predatory home lending and, not even allowed to buy anywhere. And so things like that. And people are like, no, they stop.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure 400 years of slavery kind of helped with that too. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Seems to affect them a little.
Just a little bit there. So yeah.
A little. What do you say to people that, or how do you feel about when people talk about abolishing CFS completely, getting rid of it?
That's a slippery slope for me because a lot of my partner, she works for CFS.
Yeah.
My mom works for CFS. I know a lot of people that work for CFS, and so they deal with these problems. They deal with these family situations. I don't think. Again, it's such a complicated situation. Like, how do you fix CFS? I really don't know. You start by fixing the family unit, I think, right?
I think you're right. But also,
I mean, how do you do that? How do you do that?
Because even if the government's like, we're going to make all these programs, you can't force people to do them. And when a community has been totally fucked over by the government for 500 years, they're not super keen on having some, even if it's an indigenous person, you know, I work for, you know, the Department of Indigenous Affairs or whatever. Even that, they'd be like, oh, so you're just a Fed and we're not going to listen to anything you say. It's just, and it'll never be quick. Everybody's like, well, how do we fix this now? Fix it now. Fix it now. Fix it now.
Exactly.
Like, it'll take
throw more money at it. See what happens.
Yeah. And then be like, oh, we fixed it. We're done now. See you later.
I don't know. I mean, the simplest way is like First Nations, us, we have to fix ourselves first. We have to want to change our own lives, take personal responsibility for ourselves. You know,
I think you're right.
Like,
I think it's because, again, there's a lot of more toxic people that I know that would say, well, you got to stop playing the victim and just grow up and move on and blah, blah. And I think there's a nicer way of, like, you can acknowledge that. So I think it's important that we acknowledge the trauma and the detriment that we collective Canadians have done to Indigenous families and lives. And then at some point it needs to switch, right? Because like if speaking from my privileged self, right? Like, what do I know? But in my brain, at some point it needs to be, yes, this happened. Yes, I'm fucked up. Yes, I need help. And then you take the steps to get help, you know? I don't know. Maybe that's naive. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
You have to want to change though, right? Yeah. You have to want to change.
Trauma's heavy, you know?
It is, man.
I'm curious, not to maybe get too personal or get too into it, but like from your perspective growing up, is there anything that stands out to you kind of from either your aunts or maybe I don't want to throw shade at any of the parents. I'm just curious, is there anything that sort of happened that you could maybe that lines up perfectly with sort of the residential school trauma, if that makes sense? Is there any sort of experiences that you had that you could sort of line up right with that? Or is it just sort of general?
Jeez, like what was like, think of like another way to, well, I think just to keep, just to kind of keep the podcast going without it leaving any dead air.
Sure.
I mean, like I can only speak from my own experience, right? Growing up in my house in Dauphin, it was, my mom was very, she was always busy. She was always, I don't know if it's because she couldn't sit still or not, but she was always looking to do better, looking like whether it's going to courses or having another job or like, but I mean, like that's another form of trauma, is always trying to stay busy, trying to just, so that you're not stuck in your own head.
Stay ahead of the demons, right?
Stay ahead of stay busy. That's right. And so that was my mom. Okay. Other people that I, like other kids that I saw, they weren't really parented at all. So
I mean, it'll happen because I can't remember. Refresh my memory. You grew up sometime on reserve or no?
No, I grew up in Dauphin.
Okay,
I was born in Swan River, and then I lived in Churchill, I lived in Gillam, and I grew up in Dauphin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of the province.
Seen a lot of province. I mean, Dauphin was a good place. I mean, like obviously, like it was a good place it's a good place if you want to raise a family.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I mean, honestly, I've been thinking a lot about this like recently, like my own experiences as a child growing up in Dauphin was filled with like a lot of veiled racism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you come like when you remember these situations as you get older, and you're thinking like, wow, that was a racist situation that I was in, and I was too young to realize it at the time.
Do you have any examples that come to mind?
I used to be I used to deliver the paper in my neighborhood.
Okay.
And a lot of the people would come out. Sorry, my dog's right there. She's looking right at me.
Good.
A lot of people, they would just like say like they would just say stuff to me like I was, like, oh, you're first, like, you're Aboriginal, you're Native, oh, like, like it's just like it was so weird that like a Native kid was delivering their paper in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff. And
that's a lot of that. You hear a lot of stories. Again, as a white guy, I don't know myself.
The other thing that was always told to me a lot was I'm very articulate. And I thought, oh, that's cool. That's a very nice, nice compliment. But I'm thinking like, well, you obviously just saw me as a Native person before you even heard me talk. So, yeah.
Yep. I was going to say that's how a lot of it is. I've heard multiple stories from not just from Indigenous people in Canada, but also like I listen to a lot of American podcasts with, multiple races. And it's very common that where people of my complexion like to say things like that. And they don't even necessarily mean them in a toxic way, but it's so frequently like, oh, so you went to college? Oh, well, good for you. It's like, they don't mean it as anything bad, but it is bad. They just don't know it.
Oh, your people actually went to college. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you're one of the hardworking ones. Oh, good for you.
Yeah. There we go.
I don't know how we handle this going forward. I don't know how. I hope that these conversations do something. I think we need to everybody read the Truth and Reconciliation report. And as of, what was I reading? A CBC, I was just reading it here. A CBC assessment or whatever. They had gone through it and they said 13 of the TRC's recommendations have been completed, 61 are in progress, and 20 have not yet been started. So that was written, when did that come out? 2015 something? No, is it older? I can't remember now.
TRC?
Yeah.
Oh, that started way back.
I know it started a while ago, but didn't it only come out over the last handful of years ago or something like that?
The report, I think the report was pretty recent, but
yeah,
still like within like the past like 5 years.
Yeah. And I think we just need to continue to do that. And I think conversations like this, I hope, are helpful. I don't know if they are. But it's just, I just think people, I think people should just, it's the truth is going to come out, and it's still going to come out. Just face it, it's swallow some hard truths about Canada. Yeah. Oh man, 100%. And learn and handle it, deal with it. Because I made a post on Facebook a couple of days, I think it was earlier this week, basically saying a selfish part of me misses the days when I was like just ignorantly wrapped up in the cocoon of Canada's too polite, sorry about that. That was our international thing. And over the last couple of years, especially since starting the podcast and reading Wobb's book and reading The Inconvenient Indian and reading all these different books about and hearing stories from people like you, you can't possibly. And then you hear more stories about the Chinese head tax and Japanese internment and the fact that Kitchener, Ontario used to be called Berlin, but because of World War I, they hated all the Germans, so they changed the name of the city. And, just things like that. Canada sucks.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? I was thinking about, remember last time I was there, I said I was very ashamed to be a Canadian. Mm-hmm. I was very ashamed to be, like before, I was like, when I was younger, I was very proud to be a Canadian. Yeah. And then all this stuff happened. And then like finding stuff out about, like, that I didn't know about. And then, I'm like, I was just kind of ashamed. Now, after like, since we last spoke on your show here, that, I actually have some hope. I have hope for Canadians now. Yeah. So it's a progress. It's a very slow process. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think I'm very like, I got hope.
I love that. And that's great.
Yeah.
Because again, I think because things are coming out now, the conversations might be I want to stumble my words. They might be happening. Yeah. And and so I hope that once we can be honest,
I think young people too.
Yeah. Activism.
And I think
huge.
young people are very more open to it too. And that young people are the next generation. So I mean, like, who knows what's going to happen 20 years from now?
Yeah. So the only dangerous part, or the only questionable part, is there's a thing that I saw someone had shared was one of the parts of it was basically collective trauma is seen as culture. It was one of those where it's like, and so often I think it was said trauma is seen as personality, collective trauma is seen as culture, and there's another tier to that yet. And I think it's a hard thing to break through because, like my dad's fiance's kids, and I think she's Métis. I'm not sure. Her dad, I think, or her ex-husband was also indigenous in some way, and so her kids have a connection to that. But you often hear some comments about, res life, and they make jokes, and it's fine. Who am I to judge, right? But it's just interesting because I have a feeling that some of the younger kids don't necessarily know what they're joking about, and they're almost leaning into the stereotypes as though a white kid would. That's sort of the perception that I'm getting. But that said, I think more or less people are trying to move the needle.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the other thing too, like when you're talking about like the stereotypes too, I mean, like you can also say something.
Yeah, for sure. I don't hear it a lot. And again, I that was the first time I met them, and he had made some res joke, and I was like, I don't know these people.
I'm not going there.
Yeah. And again, that's interesting. Now that we talk about that, because as the white guy, I've heard it in the past directed to other people of color, different racial things, but the people of color don't say anything and they laugh along to the joke. Like, so I find myself conflicted because who am I to stand up and say something if the person who that actually affects is cool with it? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope too. And I'll be honest too. Like I used to be like that as well.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, it's easier just to go with the flow and not create some situation where it's going to be like, oh, I didn't know he felt like that. But now it's like, that's not cool. It's just not cool with me. And like, I think I've recovered a lot in my own life where, like I'm okay with being indigenous today.
Yeah.
I have like a certain self, like I'm very like, I feel comfortable with it. And that's my identity,
I still remember one of the most vivid things that we had talked about. I don't know if it was on the episode or in private, when you were talking about how when you grew up or when you first heard, what was it? I think it was like the drums at a powwow or something. And I remember you mentioning that it like awakened some sort of like, inside, thing.
Yeah. It still makes me cry. Like it brought like I don't know what it is because I go to powwow or Sundance or something. I hear the drum and all of a sudden like I got tears in my eyes.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It just spoke to me.
I have no connection to that at all. But I was gonna go to a couple of powwows and then COVID happened and then I couldn't go obviously. But I was listening to what's it called, Northern Manitoba something. There's some band. They're on Spotify and it's a lot. Every song, of course, I have no idea what they're saying. But it's all drum beats and what's it even called? Is it singing? The loud, high pitched?
It's singing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's singing.
I didn't know what it was called. If it was chanting or if it was singing or whatever. But and I listened to it in my work truck driving around Winnipeg. Just this white guy, just like boom, 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 boom. It's great. I dig it. I don't know why, but it's
powerful.
Good. It is. Yeah.
It's very powerful.
Like okay, so then before we move off this topic completely, I'm curious about your thoughts on Cancel Canada Day. It's going around. A lot of people are talking about it. It's been going on for years. And I'm even last year and the year before, more and more, I'm kind of conflicted because, like you say, you're hopeful for Canada and, we can move forward. And I think that's valid. But at the same time, especially with everything going on, like what is this country? I think if we're being more honest with ourselves, if people are willing to look at everything going on, get a decent scope of the history of how this country was built, and then also say there's a lot of positivity and, Happy Canada Day, I think that's fair. But a lot of people either ignore all of it, say Happy Canada Day, I love this country, we're wonderful, we're great, or then there's the third option where it's like Canada's just, I've seen people call it KKK Canada or KKK Canada and things like that, and it's like I don't know where I land, so I'm curious where you land.
Well, when I think, what
I'm asking you so many loaded questions, eh?
I know it's very good food for thought because it's really making me think. But did you like in this past playoffs with the Jets were playing Edmonton in the first round? I think it was like when their first game, Don Amaro he sang the Canadian national anthem.
Yeah.
And it was very like, it was very somber,
Mm-hmm.
but yet poignant.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I like. It was such a powerful, you know, like when we listened to it, and my partner and I, we held hands.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was such a good moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
I don't think
probably
about
the right way. You acknowledge the weight of it, and hopefully optimistically look towards the future, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, I don't know anything about this cancel Canada Day. Like I don't really buy into that kind of stuff. Like I don't know. I shouldn't really talk bad about. I'm not talking bad about it.
No. Yeah.
I understand it. I get it. If that's how you feel, go ahead and, you know, cancel Canada Day. Yeah. If that's your thing, go ahead and do it. You know?
It's symbolic anyway, you know, really.
Yeah.
And frankly, we didn't become a full country until like 1980 something anyway.
Yeah.
So we were still basically like under dominion of the British Crown till like the 80s. So really, what does it matter? But symbolism is important, right? Just like when the Jets had their indigenous logo. And
that was cool.
I love that should be their primary.
I love it.
Man, those jersey mock-ups would be sick.
And then they always acknowledge being on Treaty 1 territory. Like that's amazing to me. I never would have thought in my lifetime I'd see that or hear that, you know.
Just like bombers do it too. Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Well, we should acknowledge this podcast is being recorded on Treaty 1 territory.
Treaty 1. Yeah, absolutely.
Numero uno. But yeah,
best.
I think we're number one.
We're number one. We're number one.
But no, I think it's great that we can have these conversations, and I might be in the minority of people I know, or especially my white friends that are even willing to, because a lot of people I know lean into the theory that, oh, you can't talk about anything anymore, and I'm like, you can't if you're being a dick, but if you can if you're curious and you're being respectful. So. I just assume that those people just want to be an asshole and want to be like, this is my view. You're a lazy prick. And then they wonder why they can't say that, you know? Yeah. It's like...
Or get canceled because of it.
Exactly. I haven't been canceled yet. I've said lots of shitty things. But
just wait. Just wait.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. But I mean, even saying that, like, because you and I are having our discussions years back when I first started working together. And that always sticks out in my head because... I probably was a complete prick, and I didn't even know it, right? Like, I remember having my own preconceived notions, and I felt like I was relatively reasonable, so I wasn't, like, full-on, you know, fuck them. But, I wonder if, first of all, I want to apologize if I did back then come across as some bigoted prick, and I definitely did not mean to be, but looking back, I probably was. So, I'm glad that we're still friends in spite of that.
I'm very patient.
Yeah, clearly. I can only imagine how I sounded then.
Well, you know what though, Reg? I just think when you bring that up, I just remember talking to somebody that's very curious. And, you know, if you could talk to somebody that's curious, that's not like just talking to a wall, where stuff's just gonna come. You're gonna talk to them, it's not gonna, you know, it's just gonna come bouncing back at you. So, but for you, you're very receptive. So that's what, and even now with your podcast, I mean, geez, like how many guests have you had on? And exactly.
Maybe you were the fire, you know. And even to this day, there's so much that I like. I don't want to do it as a tourist, but I want to experience a reserve, you know, because I've been through them as everybody has, but I don't know how to pair that together because I don't want to be a tourist, but I technically am a tourist, and you know what I mean. Like it's hard. I don't know.
The res life. You want to get on the res life?
I just want to experience it because nobody does. Everybody drives through it. Actually, one of my cousins apparently had said they were going camping and they drove through a reserve. I don't know where. And my other cousin, good friend of mine, he basically said, oh, we should get some coffee or whatever on the way. And then they're driving through the reserve, and his brother was like, oh, no, we're not going to stop here for coffee. And my buddy was like, why not? No. You know, it's like, is their coffee just inherently bad because it's an indigenous reserve? You know, it's a racist thing to say. Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but some people have that kind of thinking. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. I don't know. And also, well, with my wife Kat, her grandparents, they live right near a reserve, in Saskatchewan, and so we very frequently go to the casino there. So they have maybe more of a nuanced view of Indigenous life or reserve life than coming from a privileged white perspective. But still, they're more interaction than most people.
I think maybe if you want to experience some of the culture, maybe we can do like a sweat lodge sometime.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'm down.
Come check it out.
100%. Yeah, I'd love to do, again, because I've always wanted to like go to like a Muslim mosque, and I want to go to like a Jewish synagogue, and I want to experience all of these things. But it's like I don't want to be just that fucking white guy strolling in shorts and being like, "Hey guys,
hey
what's
everybody,
going on?"
yeah. I'll just take a seat here.
Yeah. No, I don't want to participate. Can I just watch? And like,
can I just watch?
And that's inherently disrespectful. You know what I mean? Because you're just spectating. Depending on
it's more of a spectacle at that time. Yeah.
Just like when
you want to take part of and be a part of.
Exactly. Yeah. So that would be great. I would love that. Also another thing. I'd asked a previous guest this. Or I had an idea, and I'm pretty sure it was naive, and she kind of acknowledged that it was. I wonder if it would be ever possible to do like an exchange student program where the problem is that it kind of has connotations of residential school stuff and kind of reserve stuff, but basically where, say, a sheltered kid in Grunthal, Manitoba could spend 3 months at a school either on reserve or near reserve or... and then and then vice versa. If you know what I mean, it probably wouldn't work, but in my brain, I feel like it would help us blend.
An exchange program,
in a way, not like a full on. Like they wouldn't have to stay, and nobody would have to do anything. Or even if just white kids got a chance to, if you don't grow up around reserve, it would be interesting to have the opportunity to at least see what you're judging. I don't know. It'll never happen.
Well,
but
you know what though? There was if you watch, there's a program on APTN where they had, I think like a group of
First
like
Contact or something or no?
First Contact, First Contact,
It's
that was
been
a
in my
great
queue
series.
for a while. I've been wanting to really watch it, and I just haven't. But I've been meaning to.
Yeah. But like what you're talking about, it totally addresses like what white people's. What their thoughts were on for Indigenous people, and then you see it by the end of it. You see like how their minds were totally changed because they had this one perceived notion of how Indigenous people were, and then how they actually are, and then how it changed their thinking at the end of it. So, totally check that out. Check that out. It's really good.
Definitely will. And that's just it. What are they? There was some famous quote saying, "Travel." Was it travel cures racism or something like that, or traveling different places cures racism? Because I forget who it was. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. Yeah,
something like that. So basically, it's true because if you interact with people, even now, the more Indigenous friends that I have, which through the podcast I've met so many incredibly, interesting and powerful people, and it's just it broadens like I'm using words that I probably never would have before, and and really like the word Indigenous used to feel uncomfortable in my mouth, like it was a long word, and to use it in conversation it felt kind of hoity-toity, I don't know, something. Now it's like taking a breath. It's not that bad. But anyway, okay, well, we've touched on a lot of heavy stuff, so let's talk about some interesting stuff. This episode of the Two Idiots Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. The sun's out, bums are out, and hopefully your pubes are not out. That's true. Also, flip-flop season is upon us, and you're out there with those post-pandemic toenails? God, don't worry. Our friends at Manscaped have you covered. They just launched their 4th generation performance package and their Shears TM 2.0 nail grooming kit. Join the Manscaped movement by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code IDIOTS.
Look at that. Easy. Now, we've all heard our balls when we've been trimming. It happens. Ladies, too. I'm sure you nick areas you don't want to nick. So what Manscaped does for you, it's Performance Package 4.0, including the new Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is going to change the way you approach your grooming routine. It's got a ceramic blade. The thing will not clip you. It's a fantastic machine.
True that. With advanced skin safe technology, they got the 4000K LED spotlight, a 7000 RPM motor, an on-off travel lock, an LED spotlight. The thing's waterproof. You can do it everywhere and whenever you want in the dark. So, yeah, I'm sure ladies, I've heard horror stories of people tearing skin while they're cleaning things up. So, just imagine doing that on a beanbag.
God almighty, no thank you.
Yeah.
Now, in Forest Facts 4.0, you're also going to get the Weed Whacker. This is for trimming all your weeds up them nose and ears. Also waterproof, uses a 9,000 RPM motor. You get a dual blade 360-degree rotary system. Basically, if you got hairs coming out of there, this thing is going to cut it. You're also going to get Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Preserver Ball Toner to keep you nice and fresh. Now, they even threw in 2 free gifts. You're going to get the Manscaped Boxers, which I'm currently wearing and it's great, and the Shed Travel Bag, which is an unreal little transportation machine.
True that. So Manscaped will have you covered for everything to keep your game clean, smooth, fresh, beautiful, wonderful. Now, go to manscaped.com, get 20% off and free shipping with the code IDIOTS. That's 20% off, 20% off, and free shipping with the code IDIOTS at Manscaped. Tame that summer swamp in your pants with Manscaped. What? Whoa, we've gone like an hour already. Jesus Christ.
Holy crap.
Shit flies.
Yeah. Wow.
Which I hope means it was a good conversation. I don't know if anyone will get anything out of it, but it went by in a blink for me, so I can't speak for you. But anyway, normally if Randy were here, he's kind of our pop culture guru, but I'm curious, Mike, what's on your radar these days? What are you watching? What are you playing? What are you doing?
Ooh. Well, I guess I'm trying to think what I last watched. I watched the Falcon and Winter Soldier series.
Oh, I did too.
On Disney Plus. I thought that was
curious.
great.
What are your thoughts on Captain America being what's his name?
Black?
I watched the whole series. I don't remember his name. Sam.
Is it? Yeah, Sam. Yeah. I think it's cool. Like, why not? Why can't it be?
I'm not
why can't a black person be?
I'm just saying in the context.
I'm not putting that in your mouth.
No. But like my feeling is in the context of the MCU, the Falcon is a useless character. All he has is wings that when he get ripped off, he can't do anything. And I think maybe it's meant to show the perseverance of the human spirit and blah blah blah.
I think in the comic books, like Sam does become Captain America.
Yeah,
he does. Yeah,
that's all.
And then I like how they talked about. Yeah, I like how they talked about Isaiah Washington. I think his name is.
Spoiler alert! Everybody that hasn't watched it yet, go watch it. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! We're gonna.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
It's been out for a while. If they haven't watched it yet, they won't.
It's been whatever. Who cares?
Fuck them.
Yeah. Fuck them.
But yeah, I found the show itself was so powerful. Yeah, the first like black super soldier, and that, and the fact that they tested on him, which is all not surprising, and it's basically playing to like the Tuskegee experiments and all that in the U.S. and it was powerful, and I love I love the Falcon now more as a character because of this show. I still don't want him to be Captain America. It just doesn't. He's not a super soldier, so he could just die. You know, he can.
Yeah,
train
he doesn't really have any powers, eh? Yeah,
he can train a lot, but like, so you can catch a shield, but you catch it wrong, it'll break your shoulder. Like you're just a regular guy.
Just a regular guy, but
which is the conceit, or is sort of probably the point, but still. Like,
it's just I think we kind of just talked about it right there. The whole essence of the show.
It's a great show. I enjoyed it a lot, and I really liked Bucky's storyline and stuff. It was good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun.
And I'm trying to think what else I watched. I think like everybody else, I watched what's the name of that with Grogu? Mandalorian season 2.
I didn't watch season 2. I haven't.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I haven't even finished season 1 yet.
Well, I think I'm going to cut this podcast short. So we'll talk later.
That's fair. Yeah, no,
I'll only say this. The payoff at the end of the Mandalorian season 2 was probably the best.
That's what Randy was telling me. He wants me to watch it really bad.
Yeah. The payoff
did you watch the Scarlet Witch show, whatever that one was called?
I tried.
WandaVision.
WandaVision. I got to the first episode. It just didn't really speak to me, but
yeah, the first 3 episodes are weird and they don't make any watch through. Please watch it. It really, speaking of payoffs, if you can make it through the first 3 episodes, I think it's the fourth or the fifth, because they're nice and short, but the 4th or the 5th is really when the things start to, kind of click, and the last handful of episodes are just crazy. It's really, really good.
Okay, I'll give it another shot.
Yeah,
why not?
and it ties into the upcoming Doctor Strange movie, right? But, but yeah, it's wild. I recently watched My Octopus Teacher. That was interesting.
Never heard of it.
It's on Netflix. I think it was nominated for an Oscar or something, and it's really powerful. This guy he keeps diving in the same spot off the coast of South Africa, and he discovers an octopus there, just a normal, average octopus, normal one, whatever. And he became friends with this octopus, and he didn't have any scuba gear. He literally just held his breath, went down, and he filmed all of it, but it was in a couple of minute increments, and he it was, I don't know, it's powerful. It sounds really bad, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. But otherwise, I haven't watched any real nerdy shit. No, I watched the Loki show, basically just Marvel stuff apparently as well. What do you think of the Snyder Cut?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I loved it. It was just just the way that if you watch the original what's his name, Josh Whedon or whatever it was.
Yeah.
His cut is so I don't know. The 4-hour Snyderverse cut is probably the one I loved it. I don't know.
Good.
I just loved it.
I like Zack Snyder, and it's I personally think most DC movies are bad. They're just objectively bad, in my opinion. And Justice League was the first that I'd seen in a while that I found watchable and kind of fun. The Man of Steel movies, shoot them into the sun. Hate them. They're very bad.
Really?
I can't stand them.
I like the Man of Steel movie, but it's I don't know why.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, it was way better than the Return of Superman in 2006. It was where
I never even watched that one.
Kevin Spacey was Lex Luthor, whatever, man.
But
I think that movie was supposed to be a continuation of the actual Superman movies from the 70s. So I didn't really like that one, but Man of Steel really.
Which is a worse Lex Luthor, Kevin Spacey or what's his name, Jesse Eisenberg?
I'd say they're both a tie. they're both equally bad.
He went in a weird way with it. He was trying almost making like Joker.
Yeah, kind of, eh?
It's weird.
Kind of. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, before we shut it down, do you want to do some quick would you rather questions, rapid fire stuff? Okay. Sure. So first off, this one just popped into my head. I just watched The Sound of Metal yesterday. Great movie, really powerful. Basically the story of a rock drummer who suddenly loses his hearing and how he has to work through not that. It's amazing, really good movie. So I'm curious, would you rather go blind or go deaf?
I'll have to say go blind.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Most people would say go deaf.
No.
Yeah.
Just guys I don't know. For me, I like music, so.
Yeah, that was actually. I used to be the same way where I'd say I would rather go blind than. No, I would rather go deaf than blind because I can still see things, I can still drive, I can still play hockey, I can still watch movies, blah blah blah. But then watching this movie, it really hit home for me the fact that everything is silent. You don't hear anything, and that's
nothing.
Both good and bad in some ways. But I've decided I would rather go blind than deaf because for the same reason, sure, I can't play hockey anymore, I can't drive, but I can listen to podcasts, I can still listen to audiobooks, I can read, I can
have conversations,
listen to music. Exactly, you can interact with the world in a way that you can't when you're deaf. It's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
I was a bit stunned at myself that it changed my perspective. So anyway, let's do a quick wrap. I haven't read any of these. We're going in blind. No pun intended. Would you rather go into the past and meet your ancestors or go into the future and meet your great-great-grandchildren?
Well, I think I would have to go in the past and meet my ancestors.
Yeah. I had a feeling you were going to go that way.
Yeah.
I wonder if, again, this is just popping into my head, but through indigenous culture, I mean, they've always had, from what I understand, a more linear connection to their ancestors than say I do. Like I don't know who my ancestors were. Do you think that that's how it kind of always was, which I suspect that it probably was, or do you think it's more so trying to reconnect to kind of a lost past?
I think it's trying to reconnect to a lost past.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think our native people, indigenous people, are storytellers.
Mm-hmm.
Stories that are being passed down to generation. So
and when those stories disappear,
they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I read something interesting during this. We're actually recording this at the end of Indigenous History Month or Indigenous Awareness Month, or I forget what it's called, which is kind of perfect.
Yes.
But I'd seen someone had shared a thing where it was that during the Indian Act days, because in the past, apparently it used to be mostly the women that would do a lot of the ceremonial fires and dancing, and a lot of the traditions were apparently kind of taken care of by the women. I don't know. But during the Indian Act stuff, everything was sort of shut down, and you couldn't get permission to leave the reserve, and you weren't allowed to do any of your ceremonial stuff. So then
it was illegal. It was illegal.
Exactly. Men would apply to the Indian
agent,
and they would pretend that they were working in the forest or something, and they would actually go there and do these ceremonial dances and things that, and so then that's sort of apparently it's pivoted from being more of a matriarchal society to now the men kind of carry all the traditions. I don't know. It's interesting to hear that's one of the effects. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But what do I know?
Well, I mean, just one quick story. I went to when I went to this is probably about maybe over 10 years ago. I went to go see my dad took me to go see a medicine man out in Long Plain. And the way that his mind, I think in his mindset was like, he took us into his house, took us into a room, and he turned off the lights, and he's like he was like almost like he was hiding the fact that we were doing a ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pull all the curtains down.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed that right away, and yeah, but I didn't say anything. I was just like, we were there for one purpose, right? So
yeah, that's wow. It's things like that people do in their normal lives that have been influenced by generations of shit, right? So that's interesting. Okay. Would you rather have more time or more money?
Oh, more time.
Yeah?
Yeah, more
could
time.
Use a bit more money, but a bit more time would be probably better.
Yeah, we could all use more money, but I think more money, more problems.
Yeah.
As a certain rapper would say.
Yeah. Oh, this was actually one of the questions. Number 9 was, would you rather lose your vision or your hearing? Well, look at that. Oh, some of these suck. Would you rather be Batman or Spider-Man?
Batman.
Yeah?
Yep, Batman.
More money, more problems, brother.
That's right. But at least I got the cool car.
Well, yeah, but now Spider-Man has the Stark suit, so...
Yeah, well...
And it's,
he's not Batman, though.
That's true. I used to always... Every kid on a trampoline was always Spider-Man when they were younger, so...
Yeah, pretty much.
Would you rather always say everything on your mind or never speak again?
Oh... Jeez, that's a good one. I think I'll have to speak everything that's on my mind.
Yeah, I think so too. You'd lose a lot of friends, but never speaking again, my head would explode.
I think so, yeah. I think that was like my experience for the first little part of my life, was not saying anything. So
yeah. That makes sense. Would you rather eat a meal of cow tongue or octopus?
Cow tongue.
I've eaten both of those things, so I don't know which I would choose. Octopus is really good, actually.
Oh yeah, I guess it's calamari.
No, it's different.
That's squid.
Yeah, that's squid. When you have octopus, you cut through the tentacle, and then once you get past the chewiness of like the sucker, the actual meat is kind of hard and dense like pork. It doesn't taste fishy at all. No seafood taste. Well,
I think you just sold me on tongue, so I'll just stick to tongue.
I've definitely had some cow tongue back in the day, the old Mennonite way. You have
yeah.
Always eat everything.
Eat everything, including the tongue.
Yeah, of course. I have vivid memories of every fall or whatever, we would slaughter the pigs that we had and stuff, and because that's what you do. And I have a vivid memory of my grandpa, who has since passed away like 15 years ago, and he was sitting in the yard with the pig head, like either on his lap or near it, and he was torching the head, like burn the hair off or whatever, to I guess cut chunks off. I don't know. That's gross.
Sounds yeah.
But
yeah.
it was
sounds appetizing.
Yeah, no. But I don't know what he did with it, but I remember him burning it. Would you rather have X-ray vision or magnified hearing?
X-ray vision. Come on.
Creeper. Yeah, I don't know which one I would pick. My hearing's kind of shit, and my eyes are going. I'm such an old man now, Mike.
Yeah. How old are you now?
31.
Oh yeah, it's all downhill from here, buddy.
I know it. Don't I know it?
Yeah.
I think I might have to go also X-ray vision. Yeah. It is what it
It'd
is.
probably get annoying after a while. Is like you're just
Well, as long as
driving
you can turn
around,
it
you're
off.
just like seeing through everything. Oh, so it's not always on.
I don't know. Well, no, I think in this case it would have to be always on. Yeah. So then,
That would probably
definitely
get
X-ray
annoying.
vision. You'd probably walk into a lot of walls.
I was thinking that too. You'd probably walk into so many walls after a while. You're like, just walking into a stupid wall again.
Yeah. Interesting. Would you rather have a 10-hour dinner with a headstrong politician from an opposing party or attend a 10-hour concert for a music group you hate?
Oh my god!
I like that question.
I just feel like all the air just leave my body.
So now imagine sitting for 10 hours with Brian Pallister.
I was gonna say I don't want to eat dinner with Brian Pallister for 10 hours. Like that'd be so.
I feel like he slurps a lot.
I'm sure, and it somehow would be your fault for some reason too. Like,
Yeah. He would probably just have something like in his teeth the entire time.
Yeah.
And just, yeah.
look what you did to me. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm here trying to help you, and you put food in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I don't see how cuts to services
band
helps
would you?
me. So,
Which band do you not like? Like what would be like your worst musical experience?
I think maybe Creed. What's that other band that they're always on the radio?
Nickelback.
Yeah, there we go, Nickelback.
We've always talked about how they get unfairly treated because they're not that bad. They're not great. I could listen to 10 hours of Nickelback.
Yeah, no, not me.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're going the music
I'll
route?
stay with. No, I'll have to stay with Brian, I guess.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Yeah.
I haven't tried to get him on the show in a while because he never replies. So, honestly, I don't know how that would go. Like
Weird.
I can have conversations with Dougal and Wob, no problem, easy peasy. But like, I don't like Pallister.
Yeah. No, not
but-
a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's true. The whole province is going orange.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I would definitely go with that. Would you rather be an Olympic gold medalist or a Nobel Peace Prize winner?
Probably a gold medalist.
Same.
Yeah.
Gold medal all day. There's lots of people getting Nobel Prizes. Unless, do you also get $1 million for the Peace Prize or just the regular Nobel? I'm not sure.
Well, then you got that McDonald's money too for sponsorship show. So there you
Sponsored
go.
by Cheerios or something. And
Yeah.
Unless you smoke weed like Michael Phelps, then you lose all your sponsors.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's not hurting for money anyways. So.
No. Would you rather have Rambo or the Terminator on your side? The answer has to be Terminator.
Oh, yeah, it's obviously Terminator because, like, well,
Yeah.
is he the good Terminator or bad Terminator?
Does it matter? He's on your side.
Oh, he's on my side.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have to go with Rambo, I guess.
Oh, really? Why?
Have you seen Rambo 1?
Yes, I think.
Yes. People
But-
like where he blows up the town and like he takes over that little small town, he blows it up.
Yeah,
And then Brian Denny, he dies on a roof for some reason.
But the Terminator on your side, right? Like he's basically
That'd be so
invincible.
boring. He'd be so boring to talk to. Like,
Well,
so like, what's life? Like, what's life like in the future? Oh, there's like skeletons all over the place. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to talk to, sure, but I'm sure Rambo is no conversationalist either.
Yeah,
In
but you get some
Vietnam.
PTSD out of them. Yeah, hey, that's a good one. I like that one. I like that impression.
That's as close to a Stallone impression as I can
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
Would you rather have to sew all your clothes or grow your own food? All of it.
Ooh. Sew my own clothes because I'm pretty lazy. Like sewing my own clothes would probably be so bad at that too. But
I was gonna say I already look like shit, so it doesn't matter if my clothes look shitty too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I don't have to grow anything. Okay, maybe just a couple more here. Would you rather be on a survival reality show or a dating game show? Ooh, Mike, on a dating
survival
game show.
reality. Survival reality.
How long do you think you'd
survival. Are we talking like Survivor Man lost in the woods for 7 days, or are we
Naked and
talking
alone, naked and afraid?
Naked and afraid. Oh. Naked and alone, except with this camera crew that's following me everywhere.
Yeah. Let's say it's the show Alone, like on which is, I believe them,
which is
that
like
they're
a
actually by themselves.
Survivor Man copycat.
Yeah, it's great though. It's a good show.
I
can
do the Survivor Alone.
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I would rather do that too. I would die in like the first 3 hours, but you think you would do okay though? How long do you think?
I would do it. It all depends if I have like a steady supply of good clean water and food.
Yeah, that's normally how
and
life
shelter.
works. Yeah,
yeah, and shelter, and TV.
If I could
and
stay in a
internet, and all
hotel,
that other stuff.
then yeah, I'd probably do really well.
Yeah.
That's what,
Yeah, if I can go to a hotel at the end of the night, I'll be fine.
yeah. I think I could go for months.
That's survival. Yeah, that's survival right there. So
I'm barely surviving right now.
barely.
Yeah.
I got basic cable instead of satellite, so I mean, do what I can, right?
Wow. You're really
That's surviving right there, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scraping by.
Yeah.
Let's see here. One last one. Would you rather be 4'5" or 7'7"?
7'7".
Yeah, you're pretty short now, so.
What? I hurt my feelings actually. Jeez. I'm pretty
How tall
short.
are you, Mike?
I think I'm just trickling around 6 feet.
Oh, okay. Just trickling.
Trickling,
Are you actually?
you know?
I don't think you're that
I
close
think
to
so,
me in
yeah.
height.
How tall are you?
Like 6'1".
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm always looking up a little bit, but it's not bad. Depends what shoes I'm wearing too, right?
That must be it. Yeah, every time I see you, you must be barefoot. That must be what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Got those heels on, right? So.
We need Randy here. Guy's 5'8". He's a little boy.
Oh yeah, I tower over Randy. Like, jeez. Like, it's almost embarrassing, Like,
It's true. He should feel emasculated.
you should.
And rumor has it he has a small penis. That's that's fine.
Yeah, well, I can confirm that rumor. So.
Good to know. I hope he listens to this so he feels real
yeah.
bad about himself. Okay. Well, thanks,
Oh,
Mike.
Randy, we love you.
Yeah, well, sort of.
Well, one of us does, anyways.
Anyway, I've taken enough of your time. We're
Yeah.
at an hour 20, and
Nice.
went by real quick. Like I said, I
It
hope
did. Actually, it did. Yeah.
I hope there was something here for people. Then they, whether or not it's interesting, but at least it's
Something.
poignant. Yeah, it touches something. I hope. And thank you for sharing your experiences.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. We'll have to do it again in person.
Agreed.
Yeah. So looking forward to that.
Absolutely, buddy. Well, thank you again. Anything you want to promote or share, or anything you got on the go, or anything you know of that you want to share around?
I don't really have anything to promote, but like I said before, there's probably going to be some more news coming out about other grave sites. So just have some compassion and just, happy Canada Day too.
Yeah, fair enough. I think also real quick, before you go, I wanted to just plug the phone number there for people listening. I can do it in the end too. It's fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Here it is. Indian Residential School Survivors and Family. If you're listening to this, if anybody's listening to this and they want some support, or if you're experiencing pain or distress as a result of residential school experience, please call 1-866-925-4419. It's 24 hours, and hopefully everybody can grow together, and we can make a better Canada for us all.
For us all.
For us all. All right, brother. Well, thank you for joining us. This was fun.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, see you later, buddy.
Bye.
Okay. Oh, you're still here.
Oh, sorry, bud.
Oh, now he's gone. Okay, cool. So normally, this outro would be done with Mr. Randall, but it is just me. So I hope that everybody got something from that. I'm just some stupid white guy with a rinky-dink little podcast, but I hope that we can touch on, touch people's lives and learn things together. So thanks again to Mike for joining us. Feel free to go back to episode 23 to hear more of his story. That's over 100 episodes ago, folks. Wild. We've been doing this for a hot minute. Definitely, if you're on social media, find the Two Idiots and follow us, please. Leave us a line, drop us a line, say hi. We are Two Idiots Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. We're Two Idiots Show on Twitter. We're Two Idiots Podcast on YouTube. Send us an email at doubleidiotspodcast@gmail.com. Like I said, say hi, send us something funny, give us a show topic. If you have any guest ideas, if you want to be a guest, reach out to us. Also, help support the show at patreon.com/2idiotspodcast. For as little as $3 a month, you become a patron and get all sorts of special perks. You get giveaways, bonus draws, merch draws, exclusive episodes. You get all these different things, all these different perks on all these different tiers, and it helps keep the lights on at the good old tip. And on the $7 tier and above is our Idiot Hall of Fame. The Idiot Hall of Fame, in that, basically the $7 tier and above gets a special shout out on every episode for supporting us that extra mile. So, currently in the Idiot Hall of Fame is Brian Moore, Brian, Mrs. Danny Dewick, Sir Drew McDonald, Drew, Kayla Lundberg on behalf of her and her partner Jordan Peters, Janet Gooden, love you, and Mitchell Buck Pierce Buckers. Those are our current members of the Two Idiots Hall of Fame. So, yeah, that was a fun episode. It went by real quick. I hope it did for you too. I don't know. We're just a couple guys rambling. Canada's going through its own reckoning right now, and I think it's important that we join that wave and keep pushing the agenda. So, hope you enjoyed. If you did, let us know. Feel free, please, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. It's as simple as scrolling down in your podcast feed, leaving us a review, 5-star rating. We'll read it online. Read it on the air. If you leave us a good review, give us a good rating. So, without further ado, we're going to shut this down. Randy should be back for the next episode. And, yeah, that's it, folks. That's it.